What's up, everybody? Welcome to Florida Hood Blogs. Today we're going to be looking at the top 10 most hood places in Florida. What is a hood? That's the first thing we need to establish so we can understand the context of this video. To me, a hood is an urban area. Really, the word hood is short for neighborhood, so it's an urban neighborhood setting. Car culture, big rims, other particular niches and hobbies or pastimes, linguistical swag, music, lifestyle, hangouts. This is not related to crime. This is not related to race. This is about the size and saturation of culture within an urban area in Florida. So we're going to look at the top 10 most hood places in Florida under that definition. Are you guys ready for it? Let's do it! Number 10 is the city of Fort Lauderdale. This city has a diverse hood culture. You have people from the Caribbean islands. The city of Fort Lauderdale is very hood, very urban. You have everything you would expect in a large urban area. The streets of Fort Lauderdale can be dangerous in certain neighborhoods. Very vast urban area. You're going to find that Fort Lauderdale is a very hood place. Okay, so somebody on our channel made a comment that I have to address, and it's kind of relevant to this video. This person by the name of Pretty Girl Us 900 mentioned that the areas on my most dangerous cities in Florida were all very African American, and she went on to list the 10 cities that I listed in the percentage of the population that was black. In other words, this person is saying that in general the most dangerous cities in Florida are black. And you know what's missing from that picture? The fact that there's something called the opioid overdose rate, which is 15.8 times higher, the rate higher than the murder rate. In other words, you are about 4.5 times more likely to overdose from an opioid than you are to be murdered. What is killing the African American community is murdering, literally shooting each other up. However, the white community is being destroyed at a much higher rate by opioids. The white opioid overdose rate in Florida is a shocking 25.6. That is about 4.5 times more likely than a Hispanic, for example. So while the African American community is being killed, it's killing itself through street violence, the white community is killing itself at a much higher rate in a much larger numbers due to opioids. Basically, what it comes down to is if an African American person wants to throw their life away, they get caught up with some street drama, and that's how their life ends. If a white person wants to throw their life away, they throw it away in a different way. They get addicted to drugs. It's basically an exit. And then you have the S rate, which is when you self-inflict your own perishing. I cannot mention that word on this platform because it's not allowed. Isn't it ironic that you can talk on YouTube about black people killing each other all day long, but you cannot talk about self-inflicted perishing, doing it to yourself voluntarily? If you mention the S word on this platform, you will be removed. They don't allow that. So we live in a society where even our entertainment doesn't allow us to portray the plight of Americans in a fair way. We can talk about African Americans killing each other all day on YouTube. When people move to places, what is the first thing they look at? The crime rate and the murder rate. The crime rate and the murder rate. That's all people talk about when they move somewhere. Do you know what the opioid overdose rate is in Florida? Because that's the first thing you need to look at. The state of Florida has the highest opioid death rate in the southeast of the United States and the entire south region of the United States. Only places in the northeast have it higher. Higher than Kentucky, higher than Tennessee, higher than North Carolina, higher than Georgia. Alabama is about a third of what it is in Florida. So we have a problem here in Florida. However, people don't recognize what the problem is because the way that information is presented to us is distorted So we don't understand the seriousness of the problems that we're facing in our country, because the way the information is delivered to us has already been tweaked, adjusted, catered to a much larger agenda. I have to read these comments on my channel, and it is disappointing to sit here and read some of these comments, because it just shows me how blinded people are by the small little world they live in. My grandpa was a poet, and he had a saying, and he still is a poet. He's very advanced in age now. He lives in the mountains in Cuba. He's been here in the United States. He's had the opportunity to live here in the United States, and he said he's going to die in Cuba, and he won't die here in the United States. So at his advanced age, he won't even come to the United States anymore, because he says he has to die in Cuba. He's a poet, and my grandpa had a saying. It was a toad that lived, or a frog that lived in a well next to the sea, and he thought that all the water in the world was in that well where he lived. And he didn't know if he just peeked out of that well, the well was next to a vast ocean. In other words, sometimes people only see what's directly in front of them, and they never venture to explore outside of their comfort zone, and therefore they miss out on the large opportunities, the vast sea, the vast ocean that is out there, and they only see the small pond that is in front of them. And that is how many people are. We limit ourselves to our comfort zone. In order for me to do these videos, I have to step way out of my comfort zone. I have to go to neighborhoods where supposedly are supposed to be dangerous, supposedly my life is in danger, and you don't know if it really is or not. You have to venture outside of your comfort zone to understand things that are outside of your comfort zone, and a lot of people just aren't willing to do that. So what we do is that we contract into ourselves ever more, and we are afraid to even discuss these subjects. But the reality of it is that people in this country are throwing their lives away in different way. Some people do it voluntarily, and by the way, those doing it voluntarily to themselves are at an even higher rate than the murder rate. In other words, we understand that African Americans statistically are being murdered at a much larger rate than everybody else in the U.S. population. But then when you include how many people are overdosing on drugs, how many people are doing it to themselves voluntarily, the picture becomes very grim, and we see that we are portraying things in a negative light, but the reality is much different. Moving on to number 9, the city of Fort Myers. Fort Myers has many hoods. It definitely deserves to be on this list. It has Latino hoods like Pine Manor. It has a vast African American district towards the center of town and downtown. And in North Fort Myers, you have a white hood that's mostly composed of trailer parks. I had a young lady that was following my channel avidly until she saw the white hoods videos, and then she flipped out at my channel saying there's no way white people are living in hoods. She couldn't bear the notion that the trailer parks in North Fort Myers and the poor white neighborhoods in North Fort Myers are also hoods. Her understanding of hoods were only black, and there we go again. She couldn't bear the notion of a white hood or information being portrayed in a way that's not what she was used to, so she stopped following my channel. It was sad because she was really enjoying my channel right up into that area where she saw the video of the white hoods. But Fort Myers has a little bit of everything, and the urban culture of Fort Myers is being threatened. The city of Fort Myers, people are fleeing the city of Fort Myers for places like Cape Coral and Lehigh Acres, and it seems like the city of Fort Myers is just a vacuum that sucks up what's left over of society as the residents of Fort Myers move to other places. People from other countries move into those vacancies, and it's losing its culture. It's under threat. But the city of Fort Myers has local artists that became very famous. The city of Fort Myers, and by the way, another city that's not on this list that really could have been on this list is the city of Tallahassee. You've all heard of T-Pain, the musical artist. He's from Tallahassee. The artist of Plies, which became very notarized throughout the whole world, was from Fort Myers. We're also looking at the impact that these neighborhoods have into urban culture. So the city of Fort Myers, number 9 on the list, although it's slowly going to lose some of that. As I said, many people are fleeing the city of Fort Myers and moving to other places. But you know, it's important to stay relevant, and nothing new is coming out of Fort Myers. There's no new talents out of Fort Myers, so it's losing a lot of its influence. Number 8 is the city of Belle Glade, located in south central Florida in Palm Beach County. Belle Glade has produced a lot of talent in the sports, especially in football. This area of Florida produces some of the best athletes in the country. And also in the music world, there's local artists that are trying to do the best they can. This is one of the deepest hangouts places in the state of Florida. on a weeknight. It usually gets packed out there, as you can see in this video. So because it's just an influential place, even though it's a small town, it's very influential. It definitely deserves its spot on this list of the top 10 most hood places in Florida. Shout outs to Belle Glade, aka BG. So here's a little street action here on a Friday or Saturday night. Place gets packed. Lots of people come into this small town to the point where there's actually traffic jams. It's crazy to see a traffic jam in a small town in a rural area, but people come in from all the other towns to hang out here. Number 7 is the city of Hialeah. Yes, Hialeah. Located in Dade County, it has a population of over 200,000 people, considered the least diverse city in the United States, as over 95% of the population is Hispanic or Latino. As we mentioned at the start of the video, we're not looking at race here, so it doesn't matter that it's a Latino place. It is a very hood place. There are some specific demographics that make it a very interesting place. Among them, the fact that it's vastly Latino. Cubans and Colombians make up the largest groups. There's a lot of artists. You can run into people from TV or radio or music or film industry. You can run into all types of people in Hialeah. Even though it has a very urban setting, it's a very safe city, has one of the lowest murder rates of any city its size in the United States. We've been in Hialeah at night, and you can have a Bentley pull up to a little hole-in-the-wall restaurant, and maybe it's a boxer, maybe it's an artist you see on TV. With many Cuban artists leaving the island of Cuba, it has become even more normal to run into celebrities in Hialeah. This is really the hub of the Cuban people in the United States, and you have to deal with their politics. Whether you're walking into a restaurant, they could be on Island Time. When me and my wife got married, we got her wedding dress in Hialeah because there were some really good deals going on there. Even though it was a large company, all the employees spoke Spanish. My wife is a white girl from Michigan. She's never experienced anything like this in her life, and we got married very quickly after we met, so it was a very shocking experience for her to be at a big company with every single employee speaking Spanish, not wanting to learn English. So you will have to deal with the politics of people in Hialeah. Basically, everything is on island time or their way. It's a very unique place, and it's definitely hood and saturated with urban culture. And the fact that there's so many interesting people, interesting celebrities that you're going to meet here on the streets on a regular basis, it's a very unique place and definitely deserves its place on this list. Many businesses are open late at night. People are hanging out in corner stores all times of the day. It doesn't matter if it's a Thursday night at 12 o'clock at night. There's something going on in Hialeah, and there's always parties going on. If you drive through on a Friday or Saturday night or weekend, you bet there's parties going on. People are always commenting on my videos about how dangerous Hialeah is. We're there at night all the time. It's very safe. And if you look at the crime stats, they're actually some of the most impressive crime stats for any city of its size in the United States. Like many of these hood places, they're misunderstood. People automatically associate a hood place with high crime and violence, and that is not always the case. That's why on this list we're putting so much emphasis on the culture, the music, and the nightlife, and all the other things that come with the hood culture that are not exactly related to crime and violence. So Hialeah is one of those places that is very misunderstood. Number 6 is the city of Orlando. Yes, the 407, the city that I love. Orlando is a very, very diverse place. You have Puerto Ricans, African Americans, people from the Caribbean like Haiti and Jamaica. It is a mix of Latino and African American cultures. There's also Daytona Beach not far away, so you also have a lot of American culture. It is a very diverse and interesting place with a lot of culture, young, talented artists coming out of Orlando. So definitely a very interesting place, a very important place in African American and Latino culture. Definitely deserves to be on this list. Also a major hub for tourism. The city of Orlando has a lot going for it when it comes to culture. Number 5 on the list is West Palm Beach. Located in Palm Beach County, West Palm Beach is another place where you will find lots of African American, Latino, and American culture. Palm Beach, as we know, is a hub for the wealthy. West Palm Beach has a large Latino and African American population with many hoods, thriving culture, with influences in music, business. This is a place that has a lot going on when it comes to culture. We personally like to go to West Palm Beach for good Mexican restaurants. There's also good shopping, and it's got a good contrast between the ultra wealthy and the hood stuff that we like. You go from extremely upscale restaurants and shopping to straight up hoods in West Palm Beach. It's a really interesting contrast of ultra wealthy and just regular working class people in the hoods. The President of the United States has his residence in Palm Beach, Florida, right across from West Palm Beach. And as we know, he likes to spend more time here than he does in the capital of the country. So if the President of the United States likes to live here, that lets you know it's a really awesome area. There's a lot going on, and it is one of the most hood places in Florida. The area of Tamarind is considered to be one of the most hood places in West Palm Beach, and it's right next to downtown. So you could be in downtown, like I said, from some really high-end Royces and Ferraris and stuff like that, and you go 2 blocks down the road and it's completely hood. It's a very contrast type of place, and it definitely deserves to be on this list. Another thing about West Palm Beach that I like is that there's really interesting houses, little Cape Cod looking houses, so there's a lot of good architecture as well in the city. I like the south side of Palm Beach. Right to the south of downtown, there's a great little area with a lot of nice little cottages, historic districts, and they're some of the best kept in the state of Florida. A lot of times the architecture of inner city is lost to poverty in some of these downtown districts, but there's so much money in West Palm Beach, thankfully, that some of these neighborhoods are in really top condition. Number 4 is the city of Tampa, located on Hillsborough County. The city of Tampa is very hood. They have everything from housing projects to rundown neighborhoods to inner city neighborhoods to historic districts that have a little bit of that hood twang in them. It has a little bit of everything. The city has Puerto Rican, Cuban, African American, American, a little bit of everything mixed into the city at the right percentages to make a perfect hood mixture for you to drink. I love the city of Tampa. It has everything you would expect a large urban city to have when it comes to the inner city, and it's very diverse, very friendly town. And also you can walk around every neighborhood in the town and you don't have to worry about what race you are, what neighborhood you're in. It's a very diverse place. They're not looking at what color you are, and that's one of the things that I love about Tampa. It's how you can really get around the entire city and nobody's looking if you're white, if you're Latino, whatever. That doesn't matter here. Everybody is welcome to enjoy a little bit of the hood life. And Tampa's not just any regular hood. It's got its own flavor. It's got its own taste. The Tampa pressed Cuban sandwich is a local culture that everybody in the city enjoys. The city of Tampa has its own little specific things that make it unique from all the other neighborhoods in the country. So if you want to see a unique hood with a lot of individuality, Tampa is definitely the city for you. And it doesn't just stop in the inner city, it spreads out into the suburbs, so there's a lot to see in the Tampa area. Number 3 is the city of Miami. How could Miami not be on this list? An international city known for its music, culture, food, and everything else that it's got going on. If you've ever been to Miami on a Friday or Saturday night, its city neighborhoods are packed with activity, people partying, may it be the Latino districts or the African American areas. It has so much to offer. Every one of these niche communities, may it be Cuban or Dominican or Haitian or whatever it's got going on, every one of these communities has their own cuisine, their own culture, their own music. It's really a place to sit back and soak in the culture, the people, and enjoy the beautiful mix of hood, urban, inner city that this place has to offer. However, the unique culture of Miami is under threat from gentrification. In particular, the Northwest District of Miami, which is considered the most inner city and urban part of the city, is under threat as it has a higher elevation, and many investors consider it, with the sea level rising theories, to be a safer place to invest. Therefore, many investments are going into places like Little Haiti and displacing communities from an affordable area into other parts of Dade County where their culture is not going to be the same. These neighborhoods of Little Havana, which was predominantly Cuban, is now Salvadorian and Central American. Little Haiti is being displaced by wealthy real estate investors. And it really is unclear how long the Miami urban culture is going to last with this threat of real estate investors. Number 2 on the list takes us to Pinellas County. Yes, St. Petersburg has enough of its own culture to stand out in the state of Florida. Being an older city, it has a lot of interesting architecture, big houses, big front porches. The architecture of this city alone makes it stand out in the state of Florida. It is the most American city out of all the large cities in Florida, and that plays an important role in making it be towards the top of this list. The architecture, remember the word hood just means neighborhood. It's just a short version of neighborhood. And being that it is a city that has not changed a lot, all these other cities, Tampa, Miami, Orlando, have had a lot of change. The city of St. Petersburg hasn't had a lot of change. It's still very close to its roots. Many families are generation after generation, and that is a strong cultural thing for the city of St. Petersburg. The fact that the houses are historical just adds to the charm and the hood vibe of the place. While in other parts of Florida, developers come and they change the landscape. In St. Pete, the landscape determines what the new architecture is going to be in the city. I love the historic neighborhoods, and really the hood culture is an American thing, and the fact that it's one of the most American cities in Florida means that it just has more of that American flavor to it. You know, most of the hood culture in the United States comes from the Southern African American culture, and it's alive here, especially in the architecture, especially in the food. Everything about this place is American, Southern, hood. It's got a lot of that. So you'll find, you know, some places that, like these apartments here, that have a little bit of a Miami Caribbean feel to it, but in general, most of the cityscape is very American, very hood, a lot of culture to soak in, and it's a really popular tourist destination. And while personally to me, it's not very attractive the way the city is, but for most of my subscribers, the type of tourist destination they want and what they look for in a place they want to move to and incorporate themselves into with their own personalities and their own traits and stuff, St. Petersburg really lends itself well to that. In a lot of places, like here in Southwest Florida, there's so many transplants that it really leaves no real identity left for the locals. And St. Petersburg has been able to hold on through its old buildings, through its families of generation after generation. It's just been able to hold on to its identity and its personal, unique culture. And that's really what makes a neighborhood hood, what makes a hood hood. It's just that personal neighborhood identity, and this city is unique in Florida. Ironically, when it comes to music, the city does have really good talents out there, and the local, there's always an undertone to the local music, and in St. Petersburg, they take so much from the son montuno, which is the Cuban and Puerto Rican music of the 1970s. So if you're listening to modern artists from St. Petersburg, in the beats, they put in this little son montuno melody, the guitar and the trumpets, and all that is incorporated into their music. So it's very unique how, even when it comes to music, St. Petersburg has its own unique flavor. This is something that, if I'm not mistaken, was first done by Rick Ross, although it has been part of the Miami culture and music for a while. But Rick Ross made a video where at the beginning he had a very son montuno melody, and then it switched into his song. But that has been picked up and it's been carried through the music of St. Petersburg, and they're still doing it there. So it's very interesting that on a lot of local music you'll hear that Cuban soundtrack in the background. Just something unique about the music and the culture of this place, even though, to be honest, there's not too much Latino culture here. St. Petersburg, like I said, is it is the most American of the large cities in Florida, with most of its population being born in the United States, not abroad. It's not surprising when you hear that coming out of Palm Beach and Broward County in their music, but it is a little bit surprising for St. Petersburg, being that, like I said, it is the most American out of all the Florida cities. So definitely deserves its spot at number 2 on this list of most hood places in Florida. And there is a good, significant white population in St. Petersburg, and I've talked to a few people that are from there, and they are very hood in the sense of appreciation for their culture, their food, their music. It's the same appreciation for culture as the Latino or African American community. So even the white community here is hood in their own unique way. It's just appreciation for your neighborhood and its unique cultural aspects. Keep in mind, hood is just a shorter version of the word neighborhood. That's all it really is. And the neighborhood has its particular taste, its culture, all that infusion of every single member of that community contributes to the mass collection of the flavor of the place. So if you ever have any white friends from the St. Petersburg, Tampa area, you're going to feel the culture, the food, the music, everything about their culture is strong. And that's a thing you don't get too much in the United States. So it's beautiful that this place has its unique personal identity. And that's likely what makes it attractive to so many of my subscribers who are looking to relocate or visit Florida, is to be able to soak in all that culture that they can relate to. Because see, it's hard for people to relate to Haitian culture or Cuban culture in South Florida because they're not part of it. But St. Petersburg being more of an American city, it's just that much easier for people to be able to relate to it. Okay, we're approaching number one. Go to the comment section and leave your comment on what you think number one is going to be. I think number one is going to be no cheating. Comment before. Go down there, get in the comments. I'll give you guys like 10 seconds. Go to the comments. What do you think number one's going to be? No cheating, okay? You ready? Number one is Jacksonville, Florida. And if you thought it was something else, go ahead and comment just so that I can see what you guys were thinking, which one I was missing. What was I missing? Jacksonville, it's a no-brainer. It's the largest city in Florida. It's all an urban landscape. It's full of Southern culture. Barbecue is one of the things I love the most about the South. Jacksonville's in the northeast corner of Florida. Culturally, this place is like unique and independent from the rest of the state. It's like its own thing. It's almost like a mix of Atlanta and Houston and Tampa and Miami, but it's a very American city. It's the Latino Caribbean culture hasn't been able to infuse itself into Jacksonville the way it has into Miami and Tampa and all these other tropical places in the southern region of the state. This place has its own identity, its own unique hood culture, and the people of Jacksonville are very proud of their hood. When I put up the hood videos, I did an hour-long hood videos of Jacksonville, this is the beginning of it right here, the start of the clip. I definitely recommend you go and see that video. It's an hour-long video. They loved it. The city, they've been complaining forever. And I'm like, Florida's a huge state. I'm on the extreme southeast corner. Jacksonville is on the extreme northeast corner. So it's like quite a drive to get out there. But I finally made the drive because the people of Jacksonville, since it's called Florida Hood Blogs, they were so excited about me visiting their town. And I can't wait to go back, especially for the good barbecue. I've gotten a few good recommendations. I used to go up 301, and I would have barbecue in a little place called Baldwin, which is not part of Jacksonville. Hands down, the best barbecue I've ever had anywhere in the South. And I've been all over Alabama, Georgia. I mean, they have really good local food, local culture. Hey, if you're not subscribed, make sure you click the subscribe button. And if you are subscribed, click the notification bell so when I upload a video, it sends you an email and you can get to see my videos when I upload them. So the city of Jacksonville definitely deserves this spot. It's the largest city in Florida. Like I said, it is a very American city with a lot of particular culture. It has water, rivers that run all through the city. It's got its own beaches. It's got a lot going for it, and it's a very vast area. It's a place that you could just never finish exploring this place. It's a vast area, huge city with a lot of neighborhoods, and it's really interesting how each neighborhood has its own personality. There's, there's neighborhood with houses are from the 30s and from the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. It's so unique to see that. It's an awesome city to explore. Jacksonville, Florida, largest city in Florida. I recently read that it's the largest growing city in Florida right now. I don't know how accurate that statement is. I didn't see too much as far as houses being built and stuff like that, but there's a lot of renovation of properties, and it's not a surprise. The city, you can get a house that needs work for $30,000 or $40,000. Nowhere else in Florida can you find those prices. So there's a lot of real estate available for those who want to buy something affordable, especially if you have $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 cash and you just want to buy something that you can fix up little by little. I did that, and in the long run, you pay more with renovations and what the property is probably worth. But if you have $30,000 or $40,000 laying around and you want to put it in the real estate, you're afraid you're going to spend it like we were. It's a great place to get an affordable property and start fixing it up. It's interesting how it's hard to tell where the hood starts and where the regular neighborhoods, where it starts and ends between hood and regular residential. It's really hard to tell in Jacksonville because it's an older city, and a lot of times in Florida, like in the southern part of the state, anything from the 60s or 70s has usually already been kind of phased out within the attractive real estate market because they're building newer stuff. But Jacksonville being just a large and older city, there's neighborhoods from like the 50s and 60s that are still, regular neighborhoods. So it's kind of hard to tell where the hood and the residential start and end. It's an interesting place with a lot of different stuff going on, and it's a really interesting from a geographical, just being on the ground and exploring the town. It's a unique place, and it definitely deserves to be number one on the list. It's a city that one visit wasn't enough for me. I definitely look forward to going back to Jacksonville to explore its urban settings. Hey, did you agree with my list? If you did not agree, hit the dislike button or the like button, and let me hear your thoughts and opinions about what you think the most hood places in Florida are.